the odyssey of the 2024 election, a tale gilded in intrigue, oligarchical overreach, and the baroque dance of democracy at its most compromised. And at the epicenter of this contemporary Iliad stands none other than Elon Musk, the mercurial titan of tech, whose acquisition of Twitter became a tectonic shift not just in digital discourse but in electoral influence itself.
How much of an influence was Elon buying Twitter? Probably a decent chunk. Who knows? That's a pretty big meme. I don't know when we'll talk about that. And that might be like a thing for historians, but the Elon stuff is probably some of the most like oligarchical behavior in U.S. history. Although I say that, I would have to look back at the what was the huge oil people? Was it Rockefeller? What didn't is that what I'm thinking of? I don't know what their influence on politics and everything was. I just don't have the U.S. history knowledge in my brain to check. Standard Oil maybe? I'd have to go back and check out. I don't know, but the Elon is probably some of the I think of all the takeaways, I think the Elon Musk is probably the highlight scariest thing that's happened for several reasons. One is because it showed that conservatives have no principles or values. Remember how in the past like 4 to 8 years, remember how I've said over and over again, I'm like, I wish that this would happen. I wish we could just run this one more time and see what conservatives, I wish we could have it, right? Elon Musk is a foreigner who purchased a huge social media network, took it public to private, fired 80% of the staff, increased massively the amount of bots on the platform, made it impossible to tell who was real and who wasn't real, blatantly sided with one political party, blatantly engaged in like massive voter basically purchasing, right? The $1 million lottery insurance to sign people up. That was all, by the way, because he only gave that money to people that they handpicked. That's all been said, by the way. Is like a billionaire and personal friends with the other billionaire guy who's running for president, has a company that's trying to learn how to install microchips in people's brains, is the owner of 2 or 3 incredibly important businesses in the United States, some of which you could argue are essential to national security, like spaceships and satellites. What else? Like, it's just like, Elon Musk is so much worse than what they even accused George Soros of being, and conservatives don't care at all. They literally don't care at all, not even close, right? Like, remember, when Hillary Clinton was running for office, people accused her of secretly being in charge of a company that sold our uranium to Russia. When Elon Musk, who's in charge of launching our rockets and our satellites, is talking to Putin, conservatives are like, who cares, right? So in one sense, I think Elon Musk showed you who conservatives really were as people. So that's a thing to keep in mind, which is very disappointing. But then the second thing as well is the buying of a platform and the propagation and the shameless spreading of total disinformation, whether we're just talking like blatant AI like videos and then just like retweeting lies and all that, doesn't bode well for the future of democracy. That's a pretty big, the Elon Musk stuff I think is probably some of the worst stuff. Yeah. Even if you bring all this up to a Republican, they will just be like, well, I don't like Elon, but I still like Trump, so who cares who he hangs out with? Yeah, sure, I guess. But I mean, like, go reach out to all of your centrist friends and see how many of them are like, wow, Trump won. That's pretty, oof. Rather than like, yeah, Trump. Go find out how many of them, yeah. Do you think that Elon will legit get a position in the cabinet? Who knows? Who knows? That cabinet's going to be mighty interesting. We're going to be learning a lot about the government this election cycle.
Let us unsheath the scalpel of analysis and plunge it deep into the corpulent cadaver of this topic, dissecting how Musk's machinations contributed to Donald Trump's return to power. To gaze upon Musk's Twitter takeover is to confront the grotesque apotheosis of unchecked capitalism. Here is a man whose wealth rivals the GDP of nations, seizing control of one of the most influential social media platforms with a flick of his oligarchic van. This wasn't merely the acquisition of a company, it was the annexation of the digital public square. By taking Twitter private and gutting its infrastructure, Musk transformed it into a cacophonous coliseum where bots and disinformation gladiators clashed with truth and transparency, and predictably emerged victorious. This spectacle of corporate imperialism laid bare the moral vacuity of modern conservatism. Once vocal about foreign influence and monopolistic overreach, conservatives suddenly found themselves mute as Musk, a foreign-born billionaire, shamelessly bent Twitter's algorithms and policies to favor right-wing narratives. The hypocrisy was blinding, a neon sign flashing in the intellectual darkness of their newfound idolatry. Musk, once an aspirational figure of entrepreneurial neutrality, became a partisan puppet master, amplifying Trump's rhetoric while silencing dissent under the guise of free speech. Musk's impact went far beyond the symbolic. By dismantling the safeguards of Twitter's verification system and opening the floodgates for AI-generated propaganda, he created a digital Wild West where voters struggled to discern fact from fiction. The proliferation of doctored videos, fake endorsements, and algorithmically amplified lies became the new normal, eroding the already fragile bedrock of American democratic discourse. His actions weren't merely negligent, they were catastrophic. And yet, Musk's meddling wasn't met with outrage from the right. Instead, it was lauded as a stroke of genius, a brave stand against woke censorship. The very same individuals who once hyperventilated over Hillary Clinton's alleged email server found no issue with Musk's blatant manipulation of voter sentiment. The man who launched rockets and satellites became, paradoxically, a lodestar for those who once decried centralized power. What's particularly insidious is how Musk's actions normalized the weaponization of social media platforms in elections. By proving that a single billionaire could effectively tilt the scales of democracy through control of a digital platform, Musk paved the way for a new era of oligarchical influence. This wasn't a Pandora's box, it was Pandora's nuclear arsenal, unleashed upon a populace ill-equipped to withstand its fallout. The parallels to historical monopolists like Rockefeller or Carnegie are striking but ultimately insufficient. Musk is no mere industrialist, he is a techno-feudal overlord whose dominion extends into realms as critical as space exploration and neurotechnology. To see him cozying up to Trump, a man whose cabinet appointments may very well include Musk himself, is to witness the grotesque culmination of corporate and political power merging into a single, unaccountable entity. Trump's victory, bolstered by Musk's Twitter manipulation, also signaled a chilling harbinger for future elections. If the propagation of AI-generated misinformation and bot-driven echo chambers could so decisively shape public opinion, what hope remains for genuine democratic engagement? Musk's actions have shown that truth is not merely the first casualty of war, it is the first casualty of elections in the age of disinformation. Even as centrist voters bemoaned Trump's win, many underestimated the scale of Musk's influence. The man wasn't merely a kingmaker, he was a kingbreaker, dismantling the ethical boundaries that once tethered electoral campaigns to some semblance of reality. His relationship with Trump was not just one of convenience but of ideological synergy, each feeding off the other's disregard for accountability. Speculation about Musk's future role in Trump's administration is not unwarranted. With his fingers already on the pulse of industries critical to national security, from SpaceX to Tesla, Musk could easily find himself wielding official power in addition to his unofficial influence. The prospect is both fascinating and terrifying, a scenario where the lines between government policy and corporate interest blur into oblivion. And yet, Musk's defenders dismiss these concerns as alarmism. Who cares who he supports, they ask, as if the very foundation of democracy isn't crumbling beneath their feet. This casual indifference underscores the danger of normalizing oligarchical interference. Musk's actions aren't just a footnote in the annals of electoral history, they are a warning siren for the future of governance itself. In conclusion, Elon Musk's role in the 2024 election is a case study in the perils of concentrated power. By leveraging his control of Twitter to amplify Trump's narrative and undermine democratic norms, Musk didn't just influence an election, he redefined what electoral interference looks like in the digital age. As we peer into the abyss of this new normal, one thing becomes clear: the future of democracy may very well hinge on whether we can confront and contain the influence of figures like Musk before it's too late.